That was the first major change. The second major change that he introduced was the introduction of a framework of industrial relations institution at the enterprise level, which could regulate relations between employers and workers at the enterprise level. He brought some very fascinating ideas from his experience of the world. As for example, the shop steward was already there from the British system. The works council was already there from the British system. He brought the concept of joint management board from the German approach of work co-determination, where Germany gave the power of workers being partners in management, even being at the board to share the practice of managing the affairs of the organization. He introduced the concept of joint management board, the German concept. He brought the concept of management committee from Scandinavia. There should be a equal participation between employers and workers in managing the affairs of an enterprise. So he brought Works Council from the British concept, joint management board from the German, management committee from the Scandinavian experience, and tried to put in place an ideal format of institutional framework which could develop industrial relations atmosphere at the plant level. What it could come out was to be seen when it was to be practiced. And the third noticeable change that was introduced as a result of the labor legislation introduced by Mr. Bhutto's labor policy was the one which made the employers shivering. That was the right to workers of getting the accounts of the company audited for the second time by an auditor to be appointed out of the panel proposed by the workers, which meant that a second audit was permissible under law if the workers wanted, and that also by an auditor to be appointed from among the workers panel at the cost of the employer. Now these three vital changes, among many others, which were introduced in the post-fourth labor policy scenario, created an impact, the consequences of which have taken years to be overcome. As compared to Mr. Bhutto's approach of giving workers the right to engage in the management of the affairs of the organization, the second labor policy of Mr. Ayub Khan gave workers a right to participate in the profits of the company. See the comparison. Because that labor policy was aiming at an industrial development, it wanted workers to participate in the affairs of the business, but by becoming a shareholder in the profits of the company. Therefore, the workers' profit participation law and the workers' welfare fund, as part of the profit going to the workers, was introduced during the regime, which was more legally legal minded in a way. What happened to that was another story. Hardly any company was showing profit. See how things have come in this country. Hardly companies were showing real profit, so that a part of it may not have to be given to workers. So this led to Mr. Bhutto's thinking that if employers cannot reveal profit, workers should have the right to get the account audited, so that at least the real profit should be known and therefore workers' share in the profit can be ascertained. And to him that was the approach, but what damage it caused to the employer in the industry is anybody's guess. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bhattu's fourth labor policy also made a major jolt in the industrial relations structure of Pakistan. For the first time, he introduced the concept of punishing employers and workers with imprisonment. Fine already existed, but with imprisonment. And he constituted what was known as the NIRC, National Industrial Relations Commission, with the responsibility of looking into the areas of unfair labor practices whereby employers and workers found guilty of unfair labor practice could be punished. That was for the first time in the history of industrial relations scenario that employers were not only punished by the NIRC, but getting impetus from this, the workers indulged into acts of throwing employers into burners and boilers and unleashing a stage of violent industrial unrest, the match of which could not be imagined, which brought the entire industrial growth coupled with the industrialization, nationalization policy of Mr. Bhutto to almost a standstill. I still recall the terror that was created by the first chairman of the National Industrial Relations Commission. Anybody recalls his name? Justice Abdul Hamid, who was known for his tight lips, harsh attitude, and very cruel approach whenever a case was taken to him, and he was apparently much more cruel to the employers in going an extra mile in punishing. And he visited my erstwhile company at that time. I was in Philips, and he addressed the members of the top management in the conference room in an absolutely grim atmosphere, and after his address of 45 minutes, pin drop silence, he finished. Neither anybody clapped, nor anybody smiled, nor anybody said a word, and then something happened which had not happened before. Justice Hamid smiled. He was known never to have smiled ever since he was the chairman of the NIRC. So Justice Hamid smiles and says, "Gentlemen, do you have any question?" And in that grim atmosphere, I took the liberty to tell him, "Sir, it is so difficult to open anybody's mouth before you. हम लोग इतने डरे हुए हैं कि आपके सामने जुबान खोलना तो बड़ा मसला है। ये जो आपने एम्प्लॉयर्स को पनिश करना शुरू किया है मुलजिमों के तौर पर, ये तो आज से पहले कभी देखने को नहीं आया। क्या आप समझते हैं कि इससे कोई बेहतर इंडस्ट्रियल रिलेशन हो सकता है?" Then he not only smiled but laughed for the first time with his full mouth open, और बहुत जबरदस्त कहकहा लगाकर उन्होंने कहा, "आपने बहुत अच्छा सवाल किया है, आज मैं उसका जवाब देना चाहता हूँ। मुझे कोई शौक नहीं है एम्प्लॉयर्स को सजा देने का, ऐसी कोई बात नहीं। लेकिन जब मिस्टर भुट्टो ने मुझे अपॉइंट किया एज द चेयरमैन ऑफ NIRC, तो उन्होंने मुझसे ये कहा, I am giving you the power to punish the employers." And I asked him, "Sir, do you really mean?" And he said, "Yes, I mean. I am only testing whether Mr. Bhutto has really given me the power to punish the employer."